what's up everyone? My name's Gulch. I'm a speedrunner for Bioshock 2. I primarily run 90%, and I'm just going to show a guide on all the recent tricks that have been found within the past couple months. A good supplemental video that I'm going to put in the link of the description is a video that another runner and glitch hunter, I guess, the person who found most of the glitches throughout this game, all the major skips, KPC made in collaboration with Tomatoiness. Um, let's name something, how speedrunners broke Bioshock 2 in 50 minutes, under 50 minutes, and at the time that was, um, you know, KVC was the only person to push it under 50, but now the run's gotten to below 39. Yeah, so a lot has changed. A lot of time save has been found since that original video was made. So I just want to share some updates and do strats. On speedrun.com, we have a link to the Bioshock speedrunning Discord. If you have any questions as you're watching this tutorial or anything pops up throughout when you're running and trying these tricks out for yourself, feel free to ask in the Discord. There's plenty of people, including myself, that are happy to answer any questions. First, let's start off by changing our options. So let's go into options from the main menu, go to graphic options, and you'll want your graphic options set up similar to what I have here. So I have window mode off, VSync on. You can always choose what you want for window mode. Definitely want VSync on in order to cap our frame rate. So for a trick later on in the run, the second last level, Outer Persephone, having your frame rate capped makes it a lot easier to do the trick. So I'm not going to go into detail about it right now, but it'll make everything a lot easier. If you have your frame rate uncapped, it's still possible, but just makes everything a lot more difficult. So you can get your settings exactly like this. We play on medium to avoid crashes. So you want your texture and actor quality on medium in order to avoid as many crashes as possible. Okay, next, we can go into controls. You can set your mouse sensitivity to whatever you'd like. Just get in the game, see what works best for you. Really, you're going to worry about customizing keys here. So there's a couple keys that you'll want to make sure that you know what they're bound to. One, all the obvious movement keys, you'll want to have those set. You'll want to have your next ammo key set to something that you'll be able to use frequently because, from time to time you'll change your ammo for using automatic hack darts, setting up turrets, things like that. Equipment weapon 5 is the camera, and there's points where you use the camera. We used to use it more. Now it's not really that big of a deal, but you'll need it in some parts and for some skips and for some research. So you'll want to know what your camera is attached to. You can always scroll through your weapons if you prefer that way, but that's just always an option. You'll want to know what your next plasmids, how to switch to your next plasmid, whatever that one is connected to, because we're doing that often. Some more important keybinds hacking. So we'll do multiple hacks throughout the run. You'll see them pop up from time to time, so you just need to know where your hack button's bound to. Use I always have on scroll wheel, so that's always an option. I just think it's nice because you can just pick up things fast. We're going to do a lot of drill dashing, so I think it's default to shift, so you can keep it to that. Some really important keybinds are play newest unread diary. I have this bound to T. You can put this to whatever you want, but we're going to be doing full level audio skips and also single audio message skips. So you'll just need to know what that's bound to because that's what you use to perform those skips. Next, you'll want to have quick save and quick load on something that you have ready access to. So you will be using quick save and quick load quite often throughout the run, so you'll just want to put that on something that's convenient for you. I put mine on tab and Y. It can seem kind of random, but that's what works for me. After you boot up the game and get the settings exactly how you want them, you'll want to go to your drive, go to users, find yourself, the profile on your computer, app data, roaming, and then find Bioshock 2 Steam. After that, you'll want to go to your User.ini, and there's an optional setting that you can have. It is allowed in the runs. I have it on C right now, but it is inject bio ammo. So if you wanted to, you could add this inject bio ammo into one of your keybinds, and you'll be able to automatically reload your Eve on command. So if you don't have this, the only way to reload your Eve is to completely get rid of it. So just, mag dump it. After you add the optional inject bio ammo keybind, either you can or you can decide not to, you'll just want to go ahead. Let me quickly take read only off of this so I can save it, but you'll want to go ahead and save. You can exit that out. Once you save, you can see that it's been updated as recent as today. Then you'll want to click on this, go to properties, and put this to read-only mode and hit apply. That way, if the game happens to crash, which hopefully the settings we put on previously would prevent that, if the game does crash, your User.ini settings won't be set to default, so you won't have to go through setting your keybinds over and over again, because that can happen if it does crash. Throughout the run, we'll be quick saving, quick loading quite often. And one issue that arises if you don't change any of your mouse settings is when you load, your sensitivity will be extremely low until the game loads in fully. So there's like a brief period of a second or two when you reload the game where your mouse sensitivity is going to be extremely slow. In order to circumnavigate this, we can go into our mouse settings. I have a Logitech wireless mouse, so I use Logitech G Hub. You can click into your mouse. What you want to do is put your report rate all the way down to its lowest setting. So I have 125 as my report rate, and this seems to fix that issue. So you'll see when I do my splicer surfs and I'm saving and loading, my mouse sensitivity won't really be affected. Once we have all our settings squared away, we can go ahead and start the run. So what you want to do if you don't have a save file is you can just hit new game, watch the cutscene, and don't move at all after you awake and the cutscene's over. You just want to press escape and save your game so you can have a save file like I have. So I have one here that I usually use for runs, so I'll just click on this and get started. I'm going to start off at Adonis Luxury Resort. Alright, we'll just get started with the run. So I'm gonna melee this little coral reef. You can do some movement over here, jump on the railing to save, a very small amount of time. Crouch under this, and continue making our way. So coming up here, we're gonna grab this audio diary. What this is gonna allow us to do is to perform an audio skip. So there'll be a message that pop up from Eleanor. We'll be able to skip it and interact with the electroplasmid as soon as possible. So I'm just going to press it once that message pops up, and I can scroll wheel to grab it.
Daddy was sleeping for such a long time, and Eleanor has missed you. Find her and you'll be all better. Daddy!
Alright, after that cutscene is over, we'll just want to use our electrical that we got to open up this door. And there's going to be a panel over here that we're just going to want to shock. You can kill the splicer and avoid it, but sometimes I just like to hit it right away. Save a couple of seconds. There's a look trigger over here that I look at, so that's why I spam my mouse after I shock that panel. We're going to come over here.
At last, a signal.
Walk in front of that door and wait. Just
City to life.
wait for it to open.
My
To wait for
name
that audio
is
message to play for it to open.
I know who you are, and I am in much need of your help.
Gonna make our way through here, grab this gun.
In the Atlantic Express train station.
And we're coming up to our first encounter with the big sister. So throughout this fight, you have the option to actually fight the little sister, but you can't actually kill her. So instead, we're just going to get ourselves down to the lowest amount of health as possible to trigger her the end of the fight. So I'm going to stand in front of here. She can throw some fireballs. I'm just going to walk back and forth to take some damage. Once we're at the lowest health, we know we're good. Usually I try to bait her into kicking me, so she can sometimes kick. You can body block her so she's as close to the door as possible when she screams. Doesn't look like she's doing it now, but I can add a clip in to show what that looks like. Now we're just gonna make our way over here and pop into this little cutscene. So we're gonna continue to walk forward, and there's a spot over here that I'm looking at right here. We want to continue to look at once the water breaks open, and once we're twirling around here, we're gonna continue looking at that area until we flip. What that's going to do is going to put us as close as possible to the area that we need to go, so we can just make it there very fast.
In that suit, even the ocean
So it's very consistent to just look at that area while the glass is breaking, and continue doing that as you're floating up, and that'll put you in a similar area. Once you start flipping, that's when you know you can stop looking and just, you know, let go of your mouse. We're just going to continue making our way throughout this level. And it's pretty much just a jumping fast until you get to the end. So jumping in the water is slightly faster, so that's why we jump. So once we get to the end here, there'll be a lever that is lit up in gold, and we'll just want to interact with it. And that's the end of Adonis, a luxury resort. As we're loading into Atlantic Express, we're going to get ready on our save key to save the game as soon as it loads in. So we're going to set up for an audio skip here by saving and loading. I'm going to pause it real quick. So when we're doing the audio skip, we're going to want to hold W, walk forward, and we're going to press our audio key at a specific time. So our play next audio diary. I have that bound to T. It's on screen, so you'll be able to see, you know, when I press it and the timing. So I usually line up with the arrow that is on the door. So once that hits the top of the screen, I'll hit the audio button. When you're performing audio skips, there's some indicators that tell you if you're too early or too late on your audio skips. So if the audio diary that you're trying to play pops up. I think it'll be Big Kate O'Malley that will pop up on the screen. You'll see a little, image of her. And then the regular radio message will play and the door won't open. So that's how you know you did too early, is if you saw the audio diary that you played pop up. If you only see the message that normally plays and the door doesn't open, you don't see your audio diary pop up in the bottom right hand corner. That's how you know that you did too late. So I'll perform it early and perform it late just to show the differences. So let me just reload. So if I was too late, it would be like that. So it just plays 10 mob message normally because, I pressed it too late. So the idea of this is that you want to press the audio key button the same frame that the audio message starts to play. And this will skip all of the audio message for the game. So if I do it early, you can see the Big Kate O'Malley message starting to play. So the bottom right hand corner. See, I did it too early. Then the Big Kate O'Malley plays, and then Tenenbaum plays right away. So that's how we know that we did too early. And when it pops up like that, that's how you know that you skipped the message successfully. So the audio message will pop up and then automatically go away. I'm going to pick up a auto hack key here. Just open this door. Be using that auto hack dart all the time throughout the run, so you want to get used to using that. You can jump here, so our stream doesn't shake. And when we're going in here, we'll just want to flip the switch and continue looking back at the screen. I move my mouse around because there's a look trigger here that needs to be checked in order for this cutscene to play. So I'm just going to move my mouse around. Sometimes I just move it around all the time because whatever, but I feel like there is another look trigger, a movement trigger later on when the enemy starts spawning that causes them to do that. I'm not entirely sure, but I always just tend to move my mouse a little bit so the game isn't just stuck in limbo. But we're just going to wait out this cutscene, and after the cutscene is about to be over, the room is going to be set on fire. We're going to look behind us at this area so that when we fall, we'll be in the most optimal position to start moving forward. I did look there a little late, but it worked out. You just want to face this way. Just jumping through the water. I'm going to crouch under this. So I just jumped in, looked that way to get as far as possible, and also be looking at the telekinesis once this cutscene is over. So this is one of the cutscenes that we can't skip with the audio message. We did skip an Eleanor audio message earlier in the last level, but this one is unskippable. So we're just going to grab telekinesis. This is going to be the main plasmid that we're going to be using throughout the run for a majority of our tricks. So this plasmid really breaks the game. We're going to grab this little pipe here, continue our way through Atlantic Express. Now there's a trick coming up that I'm going to show. There's a couple different ways to save time up here. I'm going to make a save because I'm going to do a couple different things. First, I'm just going to show the normal way. So you just grab a barrel down here, grab these guys. make my way to the elevator. You can just jump in and ride it normally. You can also try to grab a mask or a hat here. It looks like I got a mask. And what I'm going to do is push myself to the edge of this. So I'm just going to drop it on my head a little bit. Kind of nudged me. This is a little optimization that you can do. You don't have to do it because it only saves like a couple seconds. But if you go into world record, why not? You can always do it. You're not really doing anything else in here. So this is one option you can do. Once we get all the way over, you don't have to worry about going too far because you can't fall off until you want to. So what it's going to do is going to push us off the elevator once we get to the top. As long as we did this right. Yep, we got stuck. And we're going to fall to the bottom, and we're just going to respawn back at the top. So this just saves the elevator door from opening. You can just save a second or two. Alright, I just wanted to demonstrate one of the optional skips that you can do. So I currently don't do this skip. It is kind of difficult, but it is possible, so I just wanted to show that it can be done. Maybe I'll do this in runs eventually, but as of right now, I don't think I'm going to do it, because it's just very difficult. With a lot of practice, I'm sure you can get it consistent. But what we're going to do is set up for a splicer surf here. So let me just kill this guy real quick. So we made a save. I'm going to show what we do for the setup of the splicer surf. So essentially, splicer surfs are a trick that we do throughout the course of this run. It's the main trick that we use to skip all the different parts of the game. So we can, fly with the body, we can clip through walls. In order to set up for a splicer surf, we'll need to get at a high point that is at the same level as the splicer's head so that we can just walk right on top of it. So in order to do that here, we're going to use this pallet, and we're just going to nudge it up like this. Next, we're going to jump onto this little dolly here. Jump on here, and if we crouch on this, it's going to be the perfect height for a splicer. So this is a difficult trick. This is totally optional. It doesn't save a huge chunk of time compared to some of the other tricks. And also it is, again, like I said, very difficult. So if you're a beginner, you might want to skip this one. Alright, so we're going to shock the guy. I'm going to just quick save here. Nudge this pallet up. I'm going to shock him again. And shock him again. Crouch on this. Hopefully we can get him to be close enough. Again, I haven't practiced this trick a bunch, so after we get on the splicer's head, we can go ahead and quick save. And every time we save, we're going to want to load in this game because it'll uncrouch us if we don't. And especially if the splicer is dead like this, if we crouch or if we save without loading, we'll be off the body and not be able to use it. So I'm going to save and load here. And now we're still on the body. So a basis of this trick is just using your telekinesis to grab the body and start flying around. You can throw it, and we're going to use it to clip through walls and stuff. So the main tool that we use to get around throughout these bodies besides telekinesis is meleeing it. So with our drill, we can move it pretty carefully across the floor. This is what we use to do mini adjustments. You can also use telekinesis, but it's a little bit harder to accurately, move to a specific spot with telekinesis. So once we get the body over here, I'm just going to move it slightly. This might be good. I'm just going to save and load. We're going to want to get it, around these stairs here to the elevator, because we're going to skip the elevator ride completely. You can't melee upstairs, or at least it's extremely difficult. So we're going to actually just use telekinesis to get up these stairs. The hard part about this is that you can't collide with really any other collision. So if you hit into anything, you can get knocked off the body and then have to reload your save. If you get knocked off the body, you can't save again because, then you won't be on the body and be able to do any of these tricks. One thing I want to mention about telekinesis in general is it's a little deceptive where the telekinesis actually is, aiming at. So you'd think just by looking at the game that the telekinesis is just where your crosshair is, but since you have your left and right, um, you know, both your left and right hands out at all times, like ready to shoot and use tele, you actually grab it from different areas. So if you look here, you can kind of see that where I'm grabbing the center of this object is slightly to the left and up, so it's like just above the finger. So you want to keep this in mind when you're doing any sort of splicer surf, because the direction that you're moving on the body is relative to the center of the splicer itself. So it's a little bit hard to conceptualize. Again, the video that Tomato Anus made in collaboration with KPC is a really great video demonstrating that. So there's really cool visuals there. You should check that out. So I definitely won't be able to explain it as well as they did. But basically, I'm going to look to the left of the slicer since I want to go left of the center of the body, and I'm just going to use my telekinesis and press my hack button in order to stop the telekinesis. You can also feel free to switch plasmids. Some people do that. So just what this looks like is I'm pressing hack and I drop the body. Another thing to be aware of on the splicers is the bodies can be either high, like you can be high on the splicer body like I am now, or the body can be flat. So, and you'll be lower to the ground. This actually makes a huge difference when we're doing our body surfs. When we are high up on the splicer vertically, so we have a lot of height, we're tall, I guess. You will get more height when you actually use telekinesis. So right here, I'm just going up a lot vertically. Now when we land, let's just reload to save. Right here, so we high here, and if you get the body flat, still high. If you got the body low like this, we can kind of see we're a bit lower. I don't know if you can tell, or if it's just, me playing this game a lot, so just seeing that visually a lot and understanding that. It's a good thing to keep track of. So right now the body's flat, and you won't get as much height, so you can do more, horizontal movements. So we're gonna try to get this body over onto this elevator. We just telekinesis up. That's actually pretty good. So I'm just gonna save here. And we're gonna have to move the body a little bit with our drill, but it'll be fine. We're just gonna wanna move it so that the body is right in between this gap here. So between this door here and the elevator. It's a very tiny gap, but this is the space we have to get up. So getting on top of the stairs isn't too bad, but getting on top of the elevator is the hardest part in my opinion. So what we're gonna wanna do is try to just tele ourselves up here by just grabbing the splicer. Okay. we managed to get up here. Now once we're up here, we're going to want to save again. And now we're going to want to ride the splicer all the way to the top of the elevator. So one thing to be aware of is you don't want to hug too close to some of the walls because you can just clip through the walls with the body and end up, being not at the top and not where you want to be. And once you clip through a wall, you won't be able to use the splicer anymore. So you want to be careful of that, and you'll also want to be careful of going too high because if you go all the way to the top and you can just clip through the ceiling and there's no way to get back inbound. So you want to get to the top of the elevator and then clip through the door side of the door. And just like that, after 80 million attempts, you get up. After we're done with that, we just want to go ahead and pick up these trap rivets. We're going to be needing them for the splicer fight that's upcoming. So I'm just going to throw that trash can at that splicer and finish her off with the rivet gun. Then after that, I switch to my trap rivets by pressing my next ammo key. And now we're just going to watch this cutscene. After this cutscene, we're going to immediately put trap rivets in the tunnel to the right, because splicers will immediately come out of that tunnel. So we're going to want to put a trap rivets down immediately so we can kill those splicers. And then we're going to grab a propane tank and look left at the other tunnel. So the splicers will always spawn in the right tunnel first, and then the left tunnel, and then the third wave is random. So we're going to put up our trap rivets. We want to be conscious of the security camera over here. So I just stand behind this pole, throw this propane tank at the second wave that spawns, and the third wave spawned here. I can tell that because of the health bars. But they can sometimes also spawn in this tunnel here. Since we did the audio skip, it's going to open the door immediately and let us exit the level a lot faster than we would if we didn't do the full level audio skip. So the audio skips are definitely worth. And we'll have another one coming up in Ryan Amusements. On to Ryan Amusements. So in the beginning of this level, we're going to do another full level audio skip. So I line my audio message to the right there, line Sinclair's face to the right of that. Everyone has a different lineup. But as soon as we're going to save, as soon as the hands pop up, we're going to save and load. And again with these audio skips, do you see how Kate O'Malley played there? I did it too early. If I just walk forward and am too late there, the Sinclair message will just play. So again, this is a frame perfect trick, so you'll want to make sure that you're pressing it at the right timing. So you can just do it by feel, how early you are, you can adjust based on that. How late you are, you can adjust, your timing based on that. So you'll get the hang of it. You just, you can set it up differently. I just, set it up like that, and I just have the timing down for my specific setup, so it works for me. But you can always, find what works for you and figure that out for yourself. But that is my setup. We're gonna make our way through Ryan Amusements. This level does not have very many skips. It's the longest level in the game. I'm gonna go here and grab drill damage increase from that. That's gonna help us kill some of the enemies faster. Used to be more of a bigger deal, but we're barely killing enemies throughout this run now. But definitely is helpful. We're gonna put the ticket that we picked up into there. Grab sports boost. I usually just spam spacebar, and it'll put it on the first one as long as you didn't move your mouse. Same with the next one. For this, plasma that we're going to pick up, we can do an audio skip to skip over that message and pick up drill power immediately. And if you don't move your mouse anywhere onto the actual board here, you won't have a chance of overriding sports boost because this gives you a permanent movement speed buff, so you won't always want to have this on. A drill power also increases your damage, so that's also great. So we're just gonna get that. Pick up some things on the way and come over here to our Big Daddy encounter. First one of the game. I think the only one. So we're just gonna throw a barrel at Big Daddy and electrobuild him when he comes into here. We're loading, and we're just gonna do a little zap and whack. This is the strat that I do. Other people do it differently, but I just bring them right to this closest pool here.
Let's dance with them, Daddy.
So we're going to jump on this little pile over here just to get on top so the splicers can't hit us. And we are actually not going to kill any of the splicers that come and try to interfere with the sister. So instead we're just going to zap them with electrobolt. And if we do this successfully and not kill any of the splicers, when we do the next harvest, we shouldn't have any enemies spawn. So there's 2 harvests that we have to do in Ryan Amusements. This is the first one, and we'll walk to the second one shortly after this is over. So he's going to continue zapping them, preventing them from hitting the sister so they don't interrupt the progress that she's making on the harvest. So once the harvest is almost over, I usually grab this barrel. This door is activated on a look trigger, so I just throw it at those splicers. And can pick up the sister and continue on to the next harvest. Zap the splicer, you can just run through that little moving globe thingy. Bathysphere maybe? I don't even know what it is. Grab this barrel and throw it at her. Put down the sister for the next harvest, so kill this guy. And if we did it right, we should not get any splicers coming in here. So I'm gonna heal and just grab this. I'm gonna immediately pretty much start damaging myself in order to set up for a death warp that we're going to do. So I'm gonna hack this machine and fail 4 times. Get our health down to a low level. And listen to some doggy in the window while waiting for harvest to be over. So after the harvest is over, we're gonna grab this red barrel here and make our way over to the little sister vent. After we harvest the sister, not rescue her, we are going to perform a death warp. So we need this atom in order to melt the ice in the beginning of Ryan Amusements. And in order to melt the ice, we need incinerate. And in order to get incinerate, we need Eve. In order to get Eve, we need to do these harvests and harvest the little sister. So we're gonna pick her up, grab this barrel, and make our way to the vent. Getting shot at by that splicer, that's totally okay. We're going to want our health as low as possible because we want to make sure our iframes are removed when we go to perform the death warp. So there's a backup barrel over here if you do end up blowing up your barrel. but most of the time it should not happen. So we're going to put this barrel down over here, and we're going to hack this machine and fail it in order to make sure that we're down to 0 health, and harvest the sister. So this game has iframes where when you get down to 0 health or 1 health, the game won't let you die for a couple seconds. You just have invincibility frames. So when you have these invincibility frames, if we didn't get ourselves down to 1 and hit that, when we went to kill ourselves, we would not be able to do it. But we're going to get ourselves into this corner. I jumped on the barrel and grab this barrel, make sure we're in the corner of this area on top of this box, and we're going to throw the barrel at the ground. This is going to respawn us in a Vita chamber up at top, and because we did in that specific spot, we skipped the respawn animation, so we just automatically spawned in. Just a small time save, but the majority of that time save is from preventing walking by doing the death warp. We're down to a low amount of health. That's good because we're going to be doing another death warp shortly after we buy Incinerate. So here's where we buy Incinerate. Gonna clicks and set the splicer on fire, and I make our way through back through the level to the beginning. I'm just gonna shock this right away just so I don't die. There's another barrel here. You can get yourself down to lower as much, as low as health as you want, but it's just more risky. There's a barrel there that I looked at earlier that you can use to get your health down more if it's, not down. But we're going to want to make our way over to here. And at the opposite side of the room, this door is locked because we didn't kill this big sister yet, but we can just jump on top of here. Maybe attract some of the Splice's attention so we can die on top of this little podium. But they're trolling a little bit right now, so once we die, we'll be on the opposite side of the locked door on our way to the exit. So we want to get out our Incinerate Plasma that we just bought in order to melt the ice. You can hear a ding and see that the ice is melted. Then we'll just want to interact with that module there. I'm going to sit in this corner and look down. The reason I do this is to get the big sister to spawn in the room with us, because we're going to want the Eve that she has. So we're going to want to kill her. But she can spawn inside of the room so that we can start killing her as soon as possible. So before the door even opens, we'll be able to hit her. Just going to want to get her down, just zap whack, and loot her body. And that is the end of Run Amusements. Pauper's Drop. This is one of the harder levels in the run. The new route has a, somewhat difficult trick that'll take a little bit to get used to, but it's not too bad. It does take a little bit, so don't be discouraged. The first thing that we're going to set up for here is to research a drill splicer with the camera. First we're going to get the camera, research the brute splicer in order to get drill dash. So we could skip drill dash in its entirety if it was fast. Unfortunately, drill dash saves a lot of time throughout the run, so we aren't able to skip it entirely. I think drill dashing is super fun, so it's a W for me, but we're going to get drill dash from researching a brute splicer. Now we're going to research a brute splicer earlier than intended, and we're going to be forming a trick to do that. So we're going to be purchasing specific plasma and tonics in order to do this trick, so I'll just walk through exactly what we're going to buy. So once we're at the Gatherer's Garden, we're going to want to buy Plasmid Slot, hit space, and space again. Buy Decoy, you can just spam space, and then I'm also going to get Winter Blast. I don't have to move my mouse at all since it's in the place that decoy was, and I can just continue spamming my mouse because we want to overwrite Electrobolt. Next, we're going to scroll down to get Drill Lurker. That's just going to make us have quieter footsteps and increase melee attacks against enemies that aren't aware that you're there. So we can just hit space once we get that, because if we don't move our mouse on top of the space, we don't have a chance of overwriting the existing tonics and plasmids that are there. So just one thing to keep note of. We can just hit escape to get out of this, and we're going to set up for the early research on the Brute Splicer to get Drill Dash. So we're going to want to have decoy as we're walking up here, and put the decoy in this specific spot. Just in that general area is good, and the code for the store is 0047. So I usually just Winter Blast the Splicer here. Camera so we don't get detected. And then the bot, and then we're going to look right and look for the Brute and freeze him. Next we're going to drop down this hole, grab our research camera, and some money. We're going to be grabbing money from bodies and all over the place throughout the run, just to have it, because we need to get drill fuel. So we're going to research that first splicer in order to open up this door, and then research the Brute. So we can hit him with Incinerate, and then Winter Blast, and start meleeing him. And we'll get Drill Dash through that message there. So we can press left click and shift in order to Drill Dash, and that'll be our main way of killing enemies and navigating through the map. So I'm going to save here in order to set up for a splicer surf that we're going to do. So I'm going to walk over to the splicer that is at the bottom of the stairs, and the splicer takes a similar path every single time. So it'll run up the stairs, and we're going to want to freeze it at a specific time so we can jump on a little railing and get on the splicer's head. So it has to be, you know, there's a little bit of wiggle room, but it has to be a specific timing in order for you to be able to reach the splicer and get on top of its head. So we're going to want to have Winter Blast out here ready to freeze that splicer. We also want to have our health as low as we can here, not, you know, too low so that we die, but we're going to be preparing for another death warp after we complete the stroke that we'll want to have our health down for just because it's faster. So we're going to walk up here. We have the splicer here. Going to walk over here, and she's going to run up the stairs. I'm going to freeze her because that person is just annoying. And we can get on the splicer's head. So that actually wasn't ideal because I am a little past here. Ideally, you'd want her to be closer. I'm going to reload my save and show, you know, I guess a better setup. This splicer is in a bad spot. It's literally RNG if they spawn there. So I'm going to fuse the splicer here, jump on this, and crouch walk onto its head, get Incinerate out, hit her with Incinerate so that she unfreezes, you know, once we reload, and we can melee the splicer while we're on the head to stay on the splicer's body. Let's just kill this real quick. Oh, unfortunate. You can just reload if anything like that happens, and just do it again. I'm just kicking her down the stairs in order to set up for the next body surf that we're going to do. So we talked a little bit about splicer heights and how, you know, the different height that you are on the actual splicer body can affect your telekinesis pull. So right now I'm at a higher point with the splicer, so if I telekinesis pull I might get, you know, a faster pull and more height. But if you want an easy trick to circumvent this and to get the body flat faster, you can actually use the machine gun melee. So I have it bound to 4. You can also just, you know, scroll through your mouse or whatever you have it on. And I'm going to have to shoot the body to get it there. But if you melee with this, you can get it flat pretty easily in like 1 to 2 hits. Just something I found. So if we get the splicer high and then hit it with our gun, we're back to low. So when we pull, it'll be a little bit easier. What we're going to be doing with this trick is we're going to, let me put on this. So what we're going to do is get onto this glass about halfway on the glass, maybe around here is the level where you're going to want to land the splicer. So yeah, somewhere around here maybe. I'll show you the trick in full, but it's a little bit into the window, up high on the window. There'll be like a little ledge that you can get on. What we're gonna do is get the splicer body onto the ledge. Then we're going to clip through a gap here, and then we'll be out in this open area here, out of bounds. Once we're out of bounds, we're going to want to take the body all the way into this window. So you can essentially, if you wanted to, clip out of this and throw the splicer into that window. A lot of people like to do different setups, like you can get the splicer on here, sometimes the splicer lands down here and you can surf up, but it's one of the easier setups in my opinion is up onto here. It's super nice because if you get the body onto this, you'll be able to, reset quicker and get more attempts because you won't want to touch any of like the rim around here. You kind of want a perfect throw because if you hit any of this collision, you'll just get knocked off the body. So it has to be a pretty precise angle. You don't want to throw it from this because it's, a smaller surface area, the tighter angle you do. But if you look at it head on, it'll be a lot easier. And once we get into here, it's like a pitch black room, and we're going to want to, grab the body and clip through the floor here. So we'll eventually want to pop up through here, and then we'll hit this poster. This door will open, and we'll be able to talk to Grace through this window here. So I'm going to get the body up onto this window. Some people have different ways of doing it. You can either grab the body and, throw it directly on the window. That setup's pretty good. Or you can release your hack button or switch out your plasmids in order to get the thing up here. So I just pressed my hack button and it kind of floated down on here. So you can either throw it or just do it like that. But once we get the body on here, we'll want to hit save. And every time we're saving, we're going to reload when we're on top of a body. And then we can start trying to clip through this right side here. So we want to be on the right side of the splicer, and we'll want to, be flicking ourselves this way. So we threw it there. We grab the body, and I'm going to try to get it onto here. So this is a pretty ideal setup. We can just save and load from here, and then start attempting our throws. So we got through the window, and now we'll just want to grab the body to clip through the ceiling. Oh, got a little stuck there, and we're good. So after we clip through that, we'll just want to interact with the poster to get the hidden switch. And then I usually drill dash and crouch. So you can get through, obstacles like that by doing that. And crouch while you're in the middle of your drill dash. And then in order to set up for this death warp, I'm going to hit the window with Incinerate before interacting with it, and interact right away. Even if you're pretty low on health, as long as you interact right away, it takes a second for the Incinerate plasma to start damaging you, so you won't die. You won't be able to die while you're in this cutscene, so no need to worry about that. So we're going to hit the window with Incinerate and interact, and we'll start the cutscene, all while taking damage throughout. After we finished with the cutscene, we're actually going to kill Grace Holloway in order to get an auto hack dart. You necessarily don't have to do it, but I just like it for the bot setup. It makes the bot activate faster. So the bot's set up in Outer Persephone that we'll show later. So I'm gonna kill Gracie, grab this key, grab her stuff, and then set this chair on fire. The whole point of that skip was to pay off for this. So we are automatically just going to teleport right to the beginning after we grab the key, and it avoids a lot of walking back. So we can interact with that console, drill dash over to here, and we're at the end of Pauper's drop. Alright, the next level is Siren Alley. So we're going to start off in this submarine, get hit by a missile, and drop out into the ocean floor. So there's going to be two skips that we're going to do here. The first one is to skip the first fight, and then the second one is to skip the second fight. So there's one for the first room that we're going to go into. That's would be a long fight with a bunch of spider splicers and a brute splicer. But we're just going to clip through the door using the body surfs. And then the second trick, it's a little bit harder. It doesn't save as much time, but I'm going to show it anyways. It's a great trick. After we make our way through the beginning of Siren Alley, we're going to approach this room, and we're going to immediately want to freeze the splicer over here at this vending machine and destroy that security camera. Next, we're just going to buy some drill fuel from this vending machine, and we're going to set up for a splicer surf. So you're going to want to stand next to the vending machine, just like how I do. After the splicer unfreezes, he's going to start walking backwards, and we're going to freeze him again after a couple steps. After that, we're going to set up in a specific spot at the stairwell. You can see me line up with some ridges that are in the stair. It's basically the middle of the stair that I'm looking at. You can use this lineup in order to get a specific lunge from the splicer, and then once the splicer lunges and is at the end of its lunging animation, we're going to freeze it. So we're going to want the splicer to move as close to us as possible so that we can set up on the railing and get on top of the splicer's head. After I freeze the splicer, I'm going to set up a decoy and to distract the other splicers in the turret in the room so I can set up for the fling. So we're going to look at the splicer. We can save in case we mess it up. It's going to melee us and walk back. I'm going to freeze him about there and set up with this here. I'm going to save before he unfreezes. And he did the lunge. And at the end of the lunge, we're going to freeze him twice. Put up a decoy. We can maybe freeze him again. So we ran out of Eve there. Jump up on this barrel and on the railing. And then incinerate, save load. So incinerate, again, unfreezes the enemy immediately. Once we're on top of the splicer's head here, one thing that I like to do is use your primary fire for your drill. So you're going to want to have your drill out and use your primary fire in order to, drill the enemy. So what this is going to do is they always do a specific animation, and most of the time you don't fall off unless you collide with a, another object. Also, when we use the primary fire on the drill like this on a splicer, it actually makes you low as possible to the ground. So in like the two positions that we've talked about, the one that's higher that gives you more height, and the one that's lower that doesn't give you as much height. We'll want to be in the lower state because this room, the ceilings aren't very high, so you can easily catch the ceiling and then you'll get off the body. So you want to have the body as low to the ground as possible, and I found that using the primary fire on the drill makes this extremely easy. So let's just reload the save and use our primary drill. And he just flies right down there, and we can set up and save load for this clip. So we're going to want to throw the body over in this direction here. We're going to want to aim for this column right here, and it usually bounces off here. If you hit the wall, you just stick to the wall. If you get here, you can get stuck in the corner. I just found that the best way is doing this, throwing right at this pillar. So after you get the body over here, you just want to melee him over so that he's facing vertical like that with the door that we're trying to clip through. And then once you get here, you're going to want to go to the edge of the body in order to clip through the wall. So whenever setting up for these wall clips and door clips, we're going to want to be in between the door and the splicer from where we're going. So since we want to clip left, we're just going in between the splicer, looking left. And we're going to want to pull our telekinesis towards the left side. So since our telekinesis is off center to the left, we'll be aiming at the left just by, where we're looking. So. we can just use our telekinesis here, and sometimes you can wiggle through and just clip through the door like that. I'm just going to show it a couple times. So sometimes you get stuck like this, I didn't clip through. The different body types, body heights of the splicers help here. So since I have the body high, I'm high on the body, I'm going up and clipping through the top. So if you go too far left or right, you can get lost on the body. I usually like to wiggle if I get stuck, and it helps you get unstuck eventually. This will work. I just have to go right more and then go down. If I have the body low to the ground with this, I'll actually clip through like the middle of the door. So if you use a machine gun to get the body low to the ground and try to clip through, you can actually just, I find it a bit easier to clip through. So you can just clip through the bottom just like that if you have the body low. So I'm just going to show it again. I'm going to hit the body, try to clip through, and you can clip through low. So that is the first door clip. Next, I would say this clip is optional. The fight itself is about like 50 seconds, so you can save, you know, depending on how fast you are, you can save some time with this next skip, or you can do the fight normally. So we're just going to go through here. So in order to set up for this skip, we're going to want to walk right over here in order to spawn these spider splicers. We're going to kill those 2 splicers and the 1 spider, and leave 1 alive. I'm going to put a decoy down over here and grab this chair. After you put the chair there, I'm just going to get up onto this gene bank machine just by jumping. And then we're just going to want to freeze him, and we can save load on top. After the splicer unfreezes, we can just go ahead and kill him. You can use incinerate to do that before you save in order to avoid having to wait. But after we're on top of the splicer, I'm just going to save load. Now a couple things about this skip. We're going to skip this entire Father Whale's fight skip, boss fight, whatever you want to call it. We're going to do that by bringing this body through the room and clipping through the back wall. So we have to avoid a look trigger, so we're not going to want to look into the actual room right at Father Whale's, who's at the end of the chapel. And we're also not going to want to get too high because we can hit the ceiling. So we're going to want to make sure that the body's low and that we're getting a nice horizontal boost from where we're at, because we want to be clipping through a wall at a similar level that we are at right now when we're setting up this body surf. So I'm going to go ahead and put a decoy here to open the door. Can hit resave and load again. So the door is open, so we can begin attempting to clip through the back wall.
Looks like the good father's kept up with the code locks.
So we're just going to want to take the body across this room. I usually try to line up with this guardrail, and then we're going to want to clip through here, and we skip the entire fight. So once we hit the pump control, we're going to want to immediately set this on fire. I have a lot of health right now, it's not ideal, but I'm going to try to death warp out of this room. Now we're going to spawn in a different spot than we would if we normally did the fight. And we're going to have to walk back to this door to trigger these lights to turn off. So if we don't do that, the game won't be able to progress. So we're just going to go ahead and make our way to the end of the level. I'm just going to show you guys what it looks like normally when we do not skip the fight and do the actual Father Whale's fight. So Splice is going to spawn here. You're going to want to flame him and just gun him down. Another splice is going to spawn up here. We can just start shooting and flame him. Drop down here and drill dash this guy. And this is activated on a look trigger. So we're going to want to have him scream. And he'll drop down immediately. Next we'll just freeze in melee. You can do 3 melees and a freeze. That's usually what I do. And put our mini turret down. And we'll just keep freezing and meleeing. We picked up the mini turret earlier in the level in Siren's Alley, right after we did the first skip. So if you're wondering where that's at, that's where we picked it up. So we're gonna hit the switch and start preparing for this death warp by getting our health down very low. And we're just gonna want to die right here. So you need to use Incinerate on actual objects. You can't use it on the floor like you could in Bioshock 1. So we want to set that box on fire and proceed through the level. So it's going to do some drill dashing to get through the rest of this level. You can use decoys throughout the game to open doors. So there's another crouch drill dash spot that I do. I'm just going to drill dash throughout the level, use decoys to open doors. This next door that upcoming that's going to burst open with all the water. You don't want to be too close to it because it can crash your game. So I usually just stand to the side to be safe. If you're like right up against the door, it can crash your game. Going to just jump my way throughout this level, and if we didn't death warp too fast, we can do this next drill dash in water trick. So if you do the death warp too fast, it can cause this part to break, where you won't be able to, get your weapons out here. But once you're in this area leaving the level, this part of the level doesn't have water in it, so you can bring out your drill and drill dash through the water. So this is significantly faster than just walking normally, and it's just a free trick to do. And once we hit that lever, we are done with Siren Alley, on to Dionysus Park. Next, we're on to Dionysus Park. The beginning of this level is pretty normal. We're just going to be doing a lot of drill dashing throughout the level. You can just follow exactly what I'm doing. We're going to want to drill dash over here and set this splicer on fire and start shooting her. We won't be able to progress until the splicer is dead because this gate is locked, but once we kill her, it'll open up and we'll be able to proceed. You can just drill dash throughout this level. I tend to look down when I am drill dashing in order to avoid bonking into different objects, because it'll just abruptly stop you and stun you for a little bit if you crash into a wall.
I've located a new train car, but the station's still locked down and we're not alone in here. I see a shadow in the security booth. I'll lay low while you have a gander.
I'm going to grab this telly and grab some more drill fuel. Pick up this drill fuel and hold it while we're drill dashing in order to get that drill dash that we spent back. Now, since we're no longer doing the sister skip in the optimal route, we're not going to grab the launcher anymore. So before we use the big sister in order to clip through the wall, but now we're doing a new strat that saves a good amount of time and is decently easier. So once we get through this door, we're going to want to freeze the splicer immediately and kill this splicer and the turret. I'm going to continue freezing that splicer so they stay frozen to give us enough time to get on its head, and I hit it with Incinerate so that it will automatically be frozen once we reload the save. So save and load once you get on top of the splicer's head. And then I usually like to Oh, he's falling down weirdly. That's strange. That doesn't usually happen. But usually I like to use my drill here in order to kill the splicer. But this one's being a little strange. So let's see what we can do. Alright. So once you're on the splicer, we can go ahead and save load. If you did the drill dash, the drilling strat with the primary like this, like I talked about, the body will be completely flat. Since I wasn't able to do that, I'm just going to use the machine gun to hit it so that the body's flat and I have, you know, low height, so I can do this there a little bit easier. That's just my preference, but obviously you can do it from any splicer height, and people have different ways of getting over to this side of the train. But we're going to want to get the body over to this area in order to clip through the opposite side of the train to leave the level. So we're going to grab the body. Again, I'm looking a little right because the telekinesis is actually pulling from, you know, a little bit above my left hand. And I want to grab the splicer in the center of the body so that I have, you know, as much control as possible over the splicer flight. So I'm going to grab the splicer and just throw it over to this area. Usually like to aim for the ground because it bounces around, and I want it to land in a specific area. So I'm going to throw it. And that's a pretty good setup. So I'm close to here. It might be a bit too close, if I'm being honest, but let's just save and load and see how it goes. It's really hard to get specific setups because, you know, things are just so random in this game that sometimes you just gotta go with the flow. That time I clipped completely through, but basically we want to clip through here in order to reach that lever there. So you can see, after I clip through, you can see that I'll have the ability to interact with the switch to start the train. And then it'll lock me in animation. Usually I like to use Eve Inject here to get my Eve up all the way to set up for the next skip in Fontaine Futuristics. This is a doozy of one. We're going to be skipping 2 levels, but we'll talk about it once we get there. Alright, now moving on to Fontaine Futuristics. We're going to be skipping Fontaine Futuristics 1 and 2. Skipping Fontaine Futuristics 1 was discovered, you know, a little bit ago. I'm not sure when the telekinesis body flings were found, maybe like a year or 2 ago, and around that time that's when this skip was also found by KPC. But recently, KPC found a method to skip FF2 entirely, so a giant level that took some decent amount of time is now skipped completely. And I'll show you how we do both of those. So once we load into the level,
This is it, Chief.
we're going to want to, I'm going to quick save here.
Eleanor's mama's using Adam to force all
Once we load into the level, we're going to want to grab this audio diary, and we're going to want to wait until the splicer walks to this specific spot and freeze him 3 times. Drill dash this enemy and freeze. And then I usually save because this next jump is a little tricky. So we're going to jump on some, you know, some wood and this drape here. Let me just kill this splicer real quick. So we're going to want to jump onto this in order to get over here so we can set up for the splicer surf on top of that splicer where he throws around here. So we're going to want to jump on top of this, and we can't do it from there. So we're going to line up with this and jump on this seized sign here. After we jump onto that, if we walk forward, we won't be able to, you know, go anywhere. We can't like move up here, so we're going to want to jump onto this. So I usually look around here and jump and do right, hit left while I'm in the air. So you look at my inputs, I'm just going to jump left, and I'm up on top of that. So then after you get on top of it, you want to jump again to get on top of here, and then move over to the splicer where you can crouch and inch your way onto the splicer. So again, jump, left, jump again. So let's reload our save, and we're going to do that.
This
Jump.
is it, Chief. End of the line. If I'm right,
and get onto the
Eleanor's
splicer's
mom
head,
was using
we
Adam
can
to force all Rapture's
save and load.
minds and memories into the poor girl.
I'm going to use my drill
This
because
is it, Chief. End of the
I
line.
find it that
If
you
I'm
really
right,
never fall
Eleanor's
off
mom
the
is using
body.
Adam
You can
to
fall off the
force
body
all
if you hit
Rapture's
if he has a
minds and
mask or if he
memories
has a
into
gun.
the poor girl. Lamb reckons it'll make
So
their
once we're on the
child
body, we're going to
saint.
save load.
Now, Eleanor's in a deep.
And we're going to want to take him down this body all the way down
This
to
is
a
it, Chief.
lever
End
over
of the
here.
line. If I'm
So
right, Eleanor's
you can
mom is
either
using Adam to force all Rapture's
melee
minds
the
and
splicer to
memories
move him
into the
over.
poor
If they
girl.
get stuck like this, it's
Lamb
just because you've
reckons
been,
it'll make
you
that
know, chilling
child
with the body for
saint.
too long, and you can
Now,
always shoot it
Eleanor's
to
in a
get it
deep,
going.
dark place
So you
beneath
can melee the
Fontaine
splicer, or you can use
and to keep
telekinesis
you
if you're
alive,
comfortable with
we
that,
need to
but
sneak
you
in
do have a
and
risk
find
of
her.
knocking off the body. When you get to this door, you're going to want to press left any movement keys in order to open the door. So if you just melee the splicer over to this area and don't hit any movement keys, the door won't open. So we're going to want to move the body over here. Usually I try to get about here and try to get it flat so we have a low splicer flight when we do this telekinesis throw that we're about to do. So I'm going to hit save and load. I'm going to move slightly to the right so that my telekinesis is at the center of the body. And then I'm going to grab the splicer and throw it into this lever area over here where you normally flood the room. So ideally we'd want to throw the body as close to the lever as possible, but it's not always super consistent. So you can just go ahead and throw it close enough and just melee it all the way over to the lever. So we want to make sure that we're close enough to the door to fly out of the door, and also close enough to the lever to activate the lever. Just going to move the body a little bit. Kind of want it closer. This seems pretty good. I'm going to save and load. And we just want to make sure we're close enough to hit this airlock control. So there's a couple techniques with flooding the airlock. There's a couple things that can happen. So if the body's really close to the door, sometimes it can float up. If the body is moving, so if the body's moving in any way, like the limbs are moving or the hand is moving, the head is moving, while you activate this and the room is flooding, the body will float. One way that can get around this that works, most of the time is freezing the body before you use the airlock control. So in order to set up for this trick, we're going to want to freeze the body, hit the airlock control, and then we're going to want to spam our switching plasmid button, so our next plasmid button. You technically don't have to spam it. You can hit it once, but you have to time your swaps so that when the room floods, you are switching your plasmids. So it lets you have your plasmids out in the water when you normally couldn't. So I'm going to freeze the body, hit the lever, and start spamming. So the body didn't float, and we got our plasmid out. So this is a pretty good spot. One thing to note, once the room is flooded, you can't save here while you're inside of this room. So if you try to save inside of this room while you have your plasmid out and you're on top of the body, you'll get off the body. It just won't work. So unfortunately, that does not work. So if you mess up this flight, and you have to reload your save, you're going to have to do this all over again. But we're going to want to grab this body and move it out here. And once we get to a spot that we know we're on top of the body in the water, we're going to want to save. So there's some collision that you have to be worried about to like the left and right of this path, like the walking path. There's like a really high hitbox that you can hit and get stuck on top of it, and it'll make you get off the body, which is what you don't want, because you'll have to redo this part over again. So we're going to grab this body with telekinesis and fly out of this room. So we're out of the room, on top of the body. I'm just going to save load. So this area here with these beams and this area here, you can sometimes get stuck on. So if I go over it, you can sometimes get off the body. So that's the parts that I was talking about to be cautious of. You'll get a feel for it. You'll fail this a bunch of times before you learn what areas to avoid, I guess. So once we're on this body here, we can go ahead and start setting up for the FF1 skip. So there's a couple ways to do this. You can either do this in one throw or two throws. I'll first show the single throw method, the one that I use, and then I'll show the two throw method, which might be easier for people who are just starting to learn this game. So for the single throw method, I usually like to stay inside of this barrier here and this barrier here, get as close to the building as possible, and you're able to get a lot of height. So we're going to chuck the body far in this direction, and I usually line up with this gap here. So I'll show you what that looks like. As long as you're hugging the building and staying within these confines, you won't get off the body and be able to get a lot of height. So we're just going to bring the body up here. I usually like to just wiggle back and forth. And we're at a good height, so I'm going to look up and throw the body. Once we get over to this side, we are past FF1. And this is the exit to FF1, so now we can start setting up for the FF2 skip. For the single throw method, we're just going to want to throw it through this little gap here in this building. So we can go ahead and throw the body through that. Can bounce off this back wall. It's a little sus, but let's just melee it. It's a little off the edge. Alright, once we got it set up here, we're going to want to set up for the next throw. So this is the double throw method. I want to bring this body around, get some heights, and throw it that way. That was a little low. Just grab the body, get some height with this, and throw it. And we're off out into the FF2 skip area. We're actually going to want to throw it over to this area, so this lineup is pretty good. We want to be on this side of the map, just past this stairwell here. I'm going to go ahead and quick hit save and load. Now, similar to the plasmid swapping that we did when we flipped the lever and flooded the room, we're going to want to do a similar plasmid swap when we throw the body over here to set up for FF2 skip. So when we save and load, if we save and load in an area that where we normally aren't able to get our plasmids out, you can always just spam when you're hitting load in order to get your plasmids out for to be able to use telekinesis and throw the body. So when we're setting up for the FF2 skip, we're going to want to throw the body in this general area, maybe having it resting around here so that we have a clean line of shot at our target. So our target for throwing is this little slope here, this little bump in the flooding area. So this is the flooding area in order to get into FF2, which is normally blocked off by a large boulder. So basically our goal is to clip through this wall right here and reach the end of FF2 down to the elevator. So when we're throwing the body, we're going to want to aim for this little slope that's on this box here. And once we hit that, it's going to hopefully shoot the body over in this direction to land in this little area here. So the body is going to land somewhere in between here. Ideally, we want it to hit this wall here. And if we're on the same side of the splicer that hits the wall, if we're on the edge of that splicer, then as soon as the splicer comes back into the player zone, we're going to clip through the wall. So as long as it hits the this wall just right, we'll be able to clip through. This is a very difficult trick, so it's hard to get used to. You just got to practice it a bunch, and you know, a little bit of it comes down to luck and, you know, what kind of speed you get when you're throwing the splicer here, how the splicer hits against the wall. It's all a little bit random. So what I'm going to do to set up for this skip is get to the edge of the body here, and I'm going to grab the body and throw it in that direction. So I'm going to try to get it, you know, somewhere around here. So once we throw the body into a spot around here, we're going to want to save load and swap our plasmids so we can get them out. I want to grab the body and throw it at this spot here, and wow, we clipped through the first try. So that's what that looks like. So I'll show it again. We're just going to swap, grab the body, throw it at that little slope, clip through again. Wow. If you get into this area and you don't clip all the way through, you can see here I'm moving my mouse all around, but my camera's like fixed. So there's a lot of times where you can't really recover it, but if you're in a spot where you can move the body slightly, it's sometimes worth to, you know, grab and then press the hack button, which is on the side of my mouse. So just grab and hack to like move the body over, and you can sometimes wiggle your way through. But ideally, you just want to get a very fast throw, hit this, and clip through. Now we're on to the second last level of the run, Outer Persephone.
We're finally here. Find Eleanor, son, and fast. Her mama's got all rapture, dying to keep you two apart.
There was a new method for clipping through this door that was found earlier, a few months ago, involving little sister getting on top of it and, you know, clipping through the door using her kick momentum. If you've seen, you know, any of the GDQ run from 2023, you might have seen that trick being showcased. But now we have a new setup that involves freezing a bot and clipping through the wall with one of these medical cards. We're going to use this bot to set up a clip to clip through the wall. So similar to splicers, we can actually use friendly and enemy bots in order to clip through walls. So one of the more difficult things about this trick is you only have, I guess, one chance for this setup, because if you say that at any point the bot is active, it will lose collision if you're not on top of it. So you won't be able to surf on the bot if you save at any point throughout the setup of this bot trick. So you want to make sure that it's in the perfect setup and that you're on top of the bot before you make the save. So we're going to switch to our auto hack dart and hack this bot to start setting up the wall clip. I'm going to grab this even drill dash, or drill fuel. Place a decoy here so that the bot so the door is open for that bot when it comes through. Move this propane tank and get out Winter Blast and stand in this corner looking at this wall. Just stay snug with that and the bot will come over here. Now, depending on where you're at on, standing on this platform, the bot will move accordingly. It's a little bit random where he goes, so you'll just want to put him in an ideal spot. This seems pretty good here, so I'm going to go ahead and freeze this bot 3 times. After I freeze the bot, I'm going to pick up this propane tank to move the bot. It's a little bit easier. You can also use the cart that we use to set up the clip to do that, but I just like the propane. I'm going to freeze it a little bit more because we do not want this bot to unfreeze or else it'll go God knows where. I'm going to grab this cart, and we can either, you know, have it laying down, have it standing up. Either way, as long as you're on 144 FPS or you have your FPS capped, you'll be able to get on this bot pretty easily. So after you get on the bot, we're just going to save load, and we can begin setting up for our we can begin attempting to clip through the wall. So once the bot's frozen, I'm going to keep them frozen while we're doing this trick. We want to grab the medical cart and just slide it, slide us and the bot into this wall. So this door, you're not really able to clip through the center of the door. You can only clip through the sides here. So the frame itself has some collisions, so you don't want to go into that. You won't be able to clip through. Just the side panels of this door here and not the middle. So if we save load, I'm just going to grab this cart and just going to try to push it into the wall. So we're going to try to push that bot through the door. Hopefully get us with it. It can be a little tricky to get the, you know, medical cart strat down. It's pretty difficult and a little bit random. But you essentially are trying just to clip through this door here. So you just want to continue whacking it. I haven't really found a consistent setup for this yet. So we're just going to try the best we can. So once we clip through the wall, we can just go ahead and exit to Inner Persephone. Now we're on to the last level, Inner Persephone. So when we're loading into this level, we're going to want to wait a second or two for the lights in the room to completely load in, the level to load in. And we're going to want to hit save and load, and we're going to be setting up for the final audio skip of the game. So essentially the lineup here is this right part of this little tank. Once that hits the edge of my screen, I'm going to hit the audio button, so the next audio diary button. And if I do this correctly, just like the other full level audio skips, it will pop up the radio message and then immediately go away without, you know, saying anything. So just like that, we skip the audio and we can progress through the level a little faster without having to wait for those radio messages. I'm going to reload my Eve and set up for another Splicer Surf right here. So I'm going to line up with this thing here. And once this third radio message pops up, I'm going to save. You can hear a sound effect of the doors opening, and I'm going to walk forward into this corner. So this Splicer Surf setup is kind of random. The splicers can do a multitude of different things, but what you'll want them to do is walk over here, come directly to you, and do the long melee kind of like we did for the setup of Siren Alley. So we're going to hit load. If it doesn't happen, we can just hit load again, but that was the attack we're looking for. We're going to want to get on the railing and get on the splicer's head. Now we can hit it with incinerate in order to unfreeze the splicer and save load. Now once we reload, one trick that I like to do is crouch and uncrouch. Once we reload, we can just spam crouch and the splicer will fall down and we can melee the splicer. So he didn't really fall in a great spot, kind of in this corner here, but ideally we'd want to be falling down the stairs. So something like that. And then once we get down to the bottom, we'll want to immediately put down a decoy in order to not have this brute splicer be aggressive on us. So we're gonna put it here, and we were too late, so he charged. So we're gonna do this again, and put put down that. Still on the body, so we're good. And once we, put down the decoy, we know we're safe from the brute. We're not gonna get knocked off the body, so we can save load. We can move this body over to a specific spot, or a rough spot I should say. We just want to move it over here so that we have room to fly up and throw the body at the final door. So if we don't move, there's this ceiling here that we'll bonk into. We want to kind of fly up here, and the last door is over here. So we're going to want to fly up here and throw the body to that door to set up for the final clip. So I'm going to grab the body, throw, and that was not too bad. Similar to the Siren Alley clip, we're going to want the body to be like facing into this vertical direction, kind of like a 90-degree angle from the door. Then we're going to want to set up at the edge of the splicer, and then use telekinesis to clip through the final door. So we're going to use tele, and when we're stuck like this, we can actually just wiggle our mouse back and forth. It can happen at various spots in the game, but wiggling can help you get through these types of areas. So if I wiggle, I can get through. So just, if you believe hard enough and wiggle hard enough, you can get through. And then once we hit this, the final cutscene will trigger and we'll be at the end of the run. So again, we'll just load this again, and we'll just want to use telekinesis to do the final door. Wiggle strats, and we're through. Thank you to anyone that watched this tutorial. If you have any questions, feel free to pop into the Bioshock speedrunning Discord mentioned earlier in this video, and I'm sure me and many other people there would be happy to answer your questions. If you want to watch me do runs live, you can follow me at twitch.tv/gulch2. I'll put a link in the description, as well as a link to all the other videos and resources that are available for the Bioshock 2 speedrunning community. Thank you.